Hello and welcome to the Cardone Solutions Podcast. I am your host of the Cardone Solutions Podcast. My name is David Bradley, Senior Sales and Marketing Manager with Grant Cardone. Now, what do we do on the Cardone Solutions Podcast? It is very, very simple. 85, if not 90% of what Grant does is 100% free. So what I'd like to do, what I love doing, is I like to take the free content that's already out there, whether it's a blog post of Grant's, whether it's an email he's sending out, whether it's an article he's written, maybe a snippet from a YouTube video, a tweet, something he's put up on Instagram, whatever it may be. And I'm going to dissect it. I'm going to put some measurable actions on it. I'm going to give it back to you so that you can take it and you can plug it in and see immediate results in your sales and your business and your life. Now, before we get into today's topic, I need to ask you for a very small little favor. So, two things actually. Number one, if the Cardone Solutions Podcast is helping you, if you have found some value in it, please make sure that you have subscribed on whatever network you are enjoying your podcasts. Also, if it has benefited you, if you are getting something out of it, do you think that somebody else might be getting something out of it too? Or do you think it could benefit somebody else as well? Did you hear something or have you heard something on one of these episodes that you're like, hey, so-and-so needs to hear that? Now, if that's the case, please make sure that you're sharing this out on your favorite social media network, whether that's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever it is that you like to spend some time in social. Make sure you're getting this out there as well so other people can start enjoying it as well, that they're benefiting from it and that it's helping, right? Let's just keep the good vibes and the good news and the good words out. Outflow is always senior to inflow. So help me with that. Help me get the messages out, okay? So also, the sponsor of the Cardone Solutions Podcast. Today's episode, the Cardone Solutions Podcast, is brought to you by the letters C and U, and that stands for Cardone University. This is the #1 sales and business training platform in the world, probably the solar system, and there's a really good chance in the galaxy as well. 15 to 30% new business in the first 90 days is a pretty common occurrence with Cardone University. Now, there's two versions. There is one for a single individual. That's called Cardone University. And then there's another one that we have, and then we built it out specifically to help train a sales team. At the end of the podcast, I'm going to put together a very special offer for both of you. So you can get more information about Cardone University, what it is, what it does, and how you can start using it right now for absolutely no money, just time and attention. The cost of Cardone University right now is time and attention, and I'll tell you more about that at the end. But let's just get right into today's topic, shall we? Today's topic, this comes from an email Grant sent out recently, and what we're going to talk about is how to go through economic turmoil. 5 tips for going through economic turmoil. So as I was reading the email, I started immediately thinking with, okay, here's 5 tips. How do I implement these into my own life? How do I plug these into what I'm doing? And if you've been following Grant for a while, if you've ever been to a Grant Cardone seminar, you know that Grant always had these things he called action ideas. And so in the workbook at his seminar, he'd have an action idea. And he'd even give them to you. He would say, hey, he'd talk about a principle, and then he'd smack an action idea on it. So it's one thing to just know something. It's another thing to do something about it. So not only am I going to give you 5 tips to go through or for going through economic turmoil, but we're going to give you 5 action ideas as well so that you're plugging it in and you're actually doing something about the economic turmoil. Okay, are you ready? Let's go. Okay, tip number 1 is this. Start operating with 10x levels of action. Grant says to literally outwork everyone right now as though you are about to, and you very well may be, enter the Great Depression of our lifetime. So the action idea, what I would like you to do is quantify for yourself. What does outwork everyone look like in your space? How will you actually know if you are outworking everyone? So I want you to do the math. Okay? So that means figure out who is currently outworking you and everyone else and make that person you. And if you don't have the data, okay, and what would that mean? Okay, that means how many phone calls do you need to make to outwork everyone? Or how many customers do you need to get in front of? Or how many proposals do you need to send out? How many emails do you need to send out? Or what have you, okay? And if you don't have the data, ask your boss, ask a manager. I promise you they'll give you the data, especially when you tell them why. Okay? So that's number one. Start operating at 10x levels of action and figure out what it's going to take to outwork literally everyone. Okay, tip number 2, stop all spending except on those things that can increase income. Do not, Grant says, spend to consume, spend only to increase income. So the action idea that I want you to take and the exercise I'd like you to do is to literally open up your books and start cutting out the unnecessary spending. If it's not getting you better, or if it is not enabling you to increase your income, it probably needs to go away for a while. If it's not helping you, if it's not serving you, if it would be considered wasteful, maybe it's time to cut it out. I actually just did this exercise about a week and a half ago. Cracked open my Discover card, cracked open the Amex, cracked open my debit card and started looking at, hey, what are some reoccurring things on here that I don't necessarily need? What am I paying for that is not helpful right now? What am I subscribed to, right? And just started hacking stuff away. And what this enabled me to do is not just, it enables me to increase my income in a certain way, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment, but it literally enabled me to increase how much extra money I have right now, okay? And that's going to be a very important thing. Wouldn't you agree? Okay, so let's get to number 3. Number 3 is you want to keep your firewood dry and add to it. Now, what does Grant mean when he talks about that? He means accumulate cash. Okay, and we just started doing that right now by cutting out unnecessary spending. And this is going to be wood for your fire. So he says, accumulate cash, get wood for your fire at all costs, and spend nothing. Because we want to prepare to invest when real assets get cheaper. Because they will. You want to be prepared to steal the market when it capitulates, meaning throws up. And you want to have your fire so big that other people are just staring at you in amazement. Like, how did he do that right now? There are people that will come out of this way on top. So the action idea for you is to start researching right now where these opportunities are going to be. You want to get out in front of this. Be way ahead of this, okay? You can't afford to be anywhere but out in front. Now, number 4 is to do whatever it takes to increase income. We've already alluded to this twice, but now it's an actual tip. You want to start thinking about ways to take on other income opportunities, things that you can do to increase your monthly income and then save it all. Okay, so the action idea for you right now is to start looking for and ask yourself the question, what multiple incomes or what multiple flows of income can you create right now that you can immediately start seeing new income and new revenue? And the first tip I want to give you, the first thing I want you to think with is before you go outside, look inside at your current job. If you still are working, if you're still employed, immediately start looking for ways to increase revenue for that company that would result in increased revenue for you. Why? Because it makes you an even more valuable employee. If you make them more money right now, they will love you more. And they will reward you for it. Okay? So make sure you have maximized the revenue opportunities in your current position before looking for the side hustle. Okay? Let's get into number 5. Number 5 is this. You want to learn how think rather than why think. And start acting like an entrepreneur. That means sales, marketing, negotiating, follow-up, branding, okay? And when we talk about how think rather than why think, what does that mean? It means just starting with the 4 tips before it, how am I going to start operating at 10x levels of action? How am I going to outwork everyone? How am I going to stop all spending except on those things that can increase my income? How do I keep my firewood dry and add to it? How do I do whatever it takes to increase income? This is how think. This is you starting to think like an entrepreneur looking for opportunity. Problems are opportunities. Okay? So start looking for opportunities, thinking like an entrepreneur. If you get into the why think, why means, why is this happening right now? Why does this always happen to me? Why am I in this situation? Why? That's wasting time. It's not helping. Move forward. So here's what I want to leave you with. 2 things. Number 1, what should you be studying right now? Okay. So as you get into how think, if you start literally asking the hows and you don't really have answers to those things, then here's what I'd like. There's 4 books I'm going to suggest that you read, and I want you to read them in this specific order. I will have links to all 4 of these in the show notes for you, but here it is. Read or reread in the following order Grant's book, If You're Not First, You're Last. Do this first. That's ironic. But the reason why is that Grant wrote this book about, it's basically his response to the economic contraction of 2008 and 2009. There are principles, tactics, techniques, and strategies that he implemented to come out of the 08-09 contraction on top, like way on top, to get to where he's at right now. He couldn't have done it without the techniques in that book. So you should know what they are, and you should start thinking with, how am I going to implement these into my world? Okay. Second book you want to read is Be Obsessed or Be Average. When Grant talks about building a fire in you to get through this and come out the other side on top, not buried in the rubble, you're going to need to get a little obsessed. You're going to need to be a little obsessive. You're probably going to need to get out of your comfort zone. You're going to have to do things that you don't want to do in order to have the things that you do want to have. You had to do that already when things were fine. Now you're going to have to really do it. So if you don't have your obsession in play, you better get it. Or it's going to impact your ability to do all the things he talks about, and if you're not first, you're last. The third book I want you to go through is the 10X Rule. Because what we want to do, once we understand what the techniques are, and once we've gotten ourselves obsessed, is we need to start thinking bigger, and we need to start acting bigger. If you're going to outwork everyone, Grant has this saying I love. If you're in sales right now, you want 10 deals working for everyone that you want. So just do that math for yourself for a second. You're going to recognize how much action you probably are not taking right now. Are you doing enough? Are you thinking big enough? And, right? Okay. So the 4th book is the Millionaire Booklet. So when we start talking about creating additional sources of revenue, when we start talking about increasing revenue, Grant has some amazing ideas, mindsets, and strategies for implementing multiple flows of income and creating that for yourself right now. So those are the 4 books. Okay, if you're not first, you're last. Be Obsessed or Be Average. The 10X Rule and the Millionaire Booklet. Do those in that order. Okay. Now, if you need to sharpen your sales skills, Cardone University is the way to do that right now. And I'm just going to ask you a quick question. If you could get 100% better in 30 days at just one selling skill, what would it be? So here's an exercise you can do. If you're taking notes, write these down. If you're driving, just start thinking, just look for the one that gets your attention the most. Okay? On a scale from 1 to 10, I want you to rate yourself on the following selling skill sets. Your ability to stay positive and motivated. Your ability to prospect. Your ability to cold call. Your ability to fact find. Your ability to present your product or your service, your ability to negotiate a deal, your ability to close a deal, your ability to follow up, your ability to work the phone, and your ability to network yourself and your company and your business on social media. Which one of those do you need the most help in? Which one of those do you have the biggest opportunity for growth? If you did the rating from a scale from 1 to 10, which one came the lowest? And for the next 30 days, with or without Cardone University, I want to challenge you to tackle and handle that one issue with full force. Like, what would happen if you trained on just that one thing every day for the next 30 days, would you increase your income? Would you be better equipped for going through economic turmoil? Now, if you've got Cardone University already, here's what I want you to do. I want you to set aside 30 minutes a day, 20 to 30 minutes, to where you just go in and that's all you focus on for the next 30 days. Could you do that? Just work on that one thing. Now, if you don't have Cardone University, you can get it right now for free for 30 days. This is how Grant gives back. Okay, if you remember his book, Sell or Be Sold, he talks about serve as a senior. He talks about give, give, give. This is how Grant exemplifies those principles. You can now, for the next 30 days, the only cost to you, remember I said this earlier, the only cost to you right now is time and attention. So will you invest the time and will you invest the attention at making sure that you, when this thing is over, come out a better version of you, better equipped to go through the economic turmoil? Can you do that? Would you do it? When? When are you going to do it? Okay. If you want to do it right now, here's how to do it. I want you to go to cardonesolutions.com/CardoneU free. That's cardonesolutions.com/Cardone, the letter U, the word free. Okay. When you land there, you can get signed up for 30 days free into this program. You can start getting after it. Okay, what'd you hear today that you liked? What stuck out? What rang a bell? What got you thinking? What raised an eyebrow? Okay, what are you going to implement? Hopefully all of it. Okay, thank you so much for listening. This has been another exciting episode of the Cardone Solutions Podcast. Don't forget, if it's helping, please make sure you've subscribed and that you're sharing it. Also, if you need clarity on something, if you've got a question, if you need help, if I can be of service to you, please feel free to reach out to me at any time. My email address, david@grantcardone.com. Feel free to call me at the office, 310-777-0352. When Grant talks about service to senior, when Grant talks about give, everybody that works for Cardone Training Technologies believes in those two things, and we want to help if we can. So please don't hesitate to reach out if I can be of service to you. Thank you again for listening. This has been the Cardone Solutions Podcast, and I'm going to leave you with the words of Grant Cardone: be great, because nothing else pays.